There are people who live in places like the ones you're seeing right now. And trust me, the reasons will leave you shocked. Imagine waking up every day in a city built beneath a rock, or on an island so tiny it barely fits your house. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? But these places not only exist, they also house people who live pretty normal lives. Or almost. Today, you're going to discover the strangest places where people actually live. Curious to see what these houses are like? Then make sure to join our legion by hitting the like button below. Now that you've done that, let's dive in. Number 13. The Hanging Temple of Hengshan. If you ever go to China, specifically southeast of Datong, you'll find an awe-inspiring wonder known as the Hanging Temple Hengshan, called the Hanging Temple because it's literally built into the side of a cliff, and many people wonder how gravity hasn't pulled it down. In addition, the temple is large, with over 40 rooms and various passageways to explore. If you dare to climb up to it, you'll discover that the temple was built by a monk during the end of the Northern Wei dynasty, between 386 and 534, and was restored in 1900. It was constructed by drilling holes into the cliffside where the supporting beams were mounted. Another interesting fact is that the temple, still in use today, houses Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. Traditionally, temples were dedicated to a single belief, but this one is open to various faiths. And believe it, the temple stands 100 feet above the ground. It's a perfect example of a monk's dedication and the people's faith. Number 12. Sealand. Meet the world's smallest country. Called Sealand, a peculiar nation that basically consists of a floating military fortress. In 1943, during World War II, the British government transformed a tower into a floating fortress to bolster its defenses. After the war, Ruff's Tower was abandoned until a pirate radio group decided to give it new life, broadcasting music from the waters. Then came Major Paddy Roy Bates. He ousted the radio pirates and had an idea. Why not make Sealand an independent country? He was so determined that when some Brits tried to invade Sealand's waters to install a buoy, Bates and his son responded with gunfire. That's right, gunfire. Bates was taken to court, but here's the twist. Since Sealand was outside British waters, Bates couldn't be legally charged. Seizing the opportunity, in 1975, he even drafted a constitution for Sealand, followed by a national flag, an anthem, a passport, and even an immigration stamp. Today, some people consider Sealand the world's smallest country. Number 11. Floating villages in Cambodia. Now let's head to Cambodia, specifically to Tonle Sap Lake. Here, floating houses dot the landscape, challenging their inhabitants every day. But why did these villages come to be? The answer lies in a regime change that forced many to leave the country. Without the rights to buy land, they built their homes on the lake, adapting to life afloat. Relying on the lake's resources to survive, these residents work, prayed, and even go about their daily routines on the water. Number 10. Yakutia. How about living in extreme cold? Maybe where you are, the temperature barely hits 64 degrees Fahrenheit, but there? Forget about warmth. In this part of the world, even the idea of cold gets a new definition. It might seem strange that over 300,000 people choose to call this place home, but they have a compelling reason. Diamonds. Yep, a diamond mine demands workers, and the pay is a pretty nice trade-off for the cold they endure. In Yakutsk, temperatures can drop to nearly 76 degrees Fahrenheit or even lower. Their resilience is something to admire. Would you have the courage or be able to survive that freezing cold? Number 9. Island Lodge. Known as Island Lodge, this island near Iceland boasts a unique sight, a solitary little white house. It seems almost insignificant against the vastness of the island, but there's a story behind it. When this house started popping up on social media, the internet went wild with speculation. Who built it? How did it end up there? Is it inhabited? These questions triggered a flurry of rumors and twisted stories. First and foremost, yes, the little house is real. Originally, it was a hunting lodge. However, over time, it ended up being abandoned. Today, technically, nobody lives there, which might actually be a blessing, considering there's no running water or other modern comforts. Number 8. China's Cliff Village. Ever imagined waking up every day feeling like you're on the edge of a cliff? Well, in China, some folks experience that daily. In a village with over 200 years of history, the residents' daily routine involves an 800-meter climb. Sounds like a movie scene, right? But this was their reality. A demanding routine that took time and effort, yet they faced it with bravery. Surprisingly, these people weren't poor. They simply lived in a place that demanded a lot from them. However, everything changed when the Chinese government offered new homes at ground level. They gladly accepted the offer. And who could blame them? Finally, they could enjoy the feeling of not being hung on a cliff and seemed thrilled with the change. Number 7. Bucharest's tunnels in Romania. Did you know that in Bucharest, Romania's capital, there are tunnels initially built for the city's heating system? It's true. But what's even more surprising, nowadays, these tunnels are home to many people who bravely struggle to survive. Despite the hardships they face, those who venture into these underground corridors report a peculiar sense of safety and solidarity. Yep, you heard it right. The people living down there band together to tackle daily challenges, showing that unity is strength, even in the most unlikely places. And don't think this is a unique situation. Believe it or not, these tunnels aren't the only underground shelters around the world. Many other communities in different parts of the globe seek these spaces as their only option. Number 6. The Sanctuary of Madonna della Corona. Imagine a place that seems to have been carved out of the very rock itself. It's not uncommon globally if you know where to look. Near Verona, Italy, lies the Sanctuary of Madonna della Corona, a sacred religious site that has attracted pilgrims for centuries. No, it's not a bar owned by the famous singer Madonna. But here's some good news. It's now easier to reach than it used to be, thanks to the improvement of the road leading up to it. Catholics, this sanctuary is an important landmark. They come here seeking peace and spirituality, dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Number 5. Drina River House. Now let's head to Serbia and talk about the Drina River House, which has a simple story behind its construction. It all started with a couple who just wanted a peaceful place to relax after a swim in the river. They began with a modest project, but over time, they built it into what it is today. You might be wondering, why on earth did they build the house in such a peculiar way? Well, the river would rise occasionally, so this structure prevented the house from being swept away by the current. Ironically, this house has been destroyed several times over the years. But what's even more amazing is that people keep rebuilding it. It's more than just a structure. It's part of the local landscape and history. People are willing to invest their time and effort to keep it standing, a testament to the deep emotional bond it has with the community. Number 4. Meteora Monastery. Imagine now 6 monasteries, each built over hundreds of years atop towering rocks. In the 14th century, monks seeking peace and protection constructed these monasteries in the heights of central Greece. Initially, they could only be reached by rope ladders and baskets, testament to the determination of those seeking refuge up there. Over the years, these sacred places became not only centers of devotion, but also hubs of learning and contemplation. Number 3. Coober Pedy. In Coober Pedy, Australia, people turned a seemingly terrible situation into something positive. Coober Pedy is a town where opal mining is the big thing. Instead of just extracting opals, many are salvaged from old mines. In 1916, they started what could have been the world's largest opal mining operation. This meant digging lots of holes in the ground, but there was a serious problem: the intense summer heat. And we're not talking about regular heat. It's the kind that makes you wonder if you could fry an egg on the hot pavement. Around 2,500 people decided to make the caves and tunnels they dug their new homes, and it worked. The caves not only offered relief from the heat, but were also significantly cooler, many degrees below the outside temperature. Without the sun's heat, living inside these caves became perfectly viable. Believe it or not, about 80% of Coober Pedy's population now lives in these caves. And these aren't just caves. They're equipped with electricity and all the amenities you'd expect in a modern home. Of course, they come out every now and then for fresh air, food, and water, but for the most part, they relax in their underground homes. Number 2. Matmata. In the small village of Matmata, Tunisia, a surprising story has unfolded. The residents not only dug large pits for themselves, but also built homes in the nearby caves, creating a stable living environment. Even when buildings began to crumble due to the weather and other factors, the residents simply rebuilt their homes and continued living in them. It might seem unusual at first, but it reveals a special bond that people have with the place they live. Number 1. Hallstatt, China. You've seen a bunch of bizarre places so far, but wait till you hear about this one. How about cloned houses? Let's head to Hallstatt, Austria. A charming old village with stunning architecture, protected by UNESCO. But here's the twist. When you visit Hallstatt in China, you find the exact same architecture even though it was built much later. This is due to China's recent obsession with recreating famous global landmarks within its own borders. The idea is simple: attract people to these locations to ease overpopulation in places like Shanghai. Some of these cloned areas, especially those mimicking the UK, aren't as bustling as expected. Many people just aren't interested in these spots. Despite these challenges, China is pressing on with the project. But what do the residents of these strange replicas think about living there? Which of these strange places caught your eye the most? Well, now I'm gonna recommend this video that's showing up on your screen right now. Go ahead and check it out. I picked it especially for you. Alright, that's it for now. See you next time. Curious Mind.